Record 1. The First Contact. Source: European Space Agency, ESA, log, augmented with intercepted global communications. Compiled by surviving members of the ESA. The night sky over Earth had always been a source of wonder, a vast, tranquil expanse of stars and galaxies. But on August 17, 2038, that tranquility was shattered. At 3:17 Universal Time Coordinated, the European Space Agency's ESA Near-Earth Object (NEO) tracking systems detected something unprecedented, a massive object moving at incredible speed toward Earth. Initial reports mistook it for a near-Earth asteroid, but this was no ordinary space rock. The object, nearly 500 kilometers in diameter, came to a halt in geosynchronous orbit, a feat that defied all known laws of physics. As astronomers and scientists scrambled to understand what they were witnessing, it became evident that this was not a natural occurrence. The object was an artificial construct, a spacecraft of unimaginable size and complexity, dwarfing any human-made structure. Moments after its arrival, every electronic device on Earth received a transmission. The message was simple and chilling. People of Earth, you are now subjects of the Galactic Empire. Surrender and submit to Imperial rule, or face annihilation. The Galactic Empire, a colossal and technologically advanced force from the stars, had come to Earth. Panic ensued as the world's governments and militaries were caught entirely off guard. The idea of an alien invasion had always been the stuff of science fiction, but now it was a terrifying reality. Record 2. Earth's initial response. Source: United Nations Security Council minutes, heavily redacted, with annotations from various world leaders' private notes. The world's governments were paralyzed with fear. In an unprecedented move, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session, bringing together representatives from the United States, Russia, China, the European Union, and other global powers. The discussions were frantic and disjointed. How could humanity respond to such an overwhelming force? How could they defend the planet against an empire that had conquered countless worlds? The leaders quickly realized that Earth had no unified planetary defense. Despite advancements in military technology, humanity's weapons were designed to fight each other, not an extraterrestrial force with capabilities far beyond anything Earth had ever encountered. NASA, Roscosmos, CNSA, and ESA collaborated to send both manned and unmanned missions to approach the massive Imperial craft. All attempts failed. The spacecraft was surrounded by an impenetrable energy field that disabled all electronics and communications as soon as any Earth-made object came within a certain proximity. It was as if the Empire's ship existed in a different realm of physics altogether. For the first few days, the world did nothing. Governments hesitated, hoping the message was some elaborate hoax or a threat that wouldn't be carried out. But this hope was soon dashed. Record 3. The First Strike. Source: A classified U.S. Department of Defense report, declassified post-war. Cross-reference with satellite imagery and eyewitness accounts. 1 week after the Galactic Empire's arrival, the world received its first demonstration of Imperial power. Without warning, a beam of intense light shot down from the massive ship in orbit, targeting the small Pacific island of Guam. Within seconds, the island was obliterated, vaporized into a smoldering crater. The force of the attack was beyond anything Earth had ever witnessed. The message was clear: the Galactic Empire was not bluffing. Earth's military scrambled to respond, but their efforts were futile. The technology gap was too vast. In a panic, some nations considered surrender, hoping to avoid further destruction. Others, like North Korea and several Middle Eastern factions, attempted to launch nuclear missiles at the Imperial ship, but the Empire's defense systems intercepted and neutralized these weapons effortlessly, detonating them mid-air and causing fallout to rain down on the very nations that launched them. The world was gripped by fear and chaos. People fled cities in droves, governments declared martial law, and economies collapsed under the strain of uncertainty. Yet, in the face of such overwhelming power, humanity's spirit of defiance began to stir. Record 4. the Imperial ground invasion. Source: military dispatches from the Joint Chiefs of Staff, with field reports from NATO and other military alliances. After demonstrating their power from orbit, the Galactic Empire began its ground invasion. Massive transport ships, each carrying thousands of troops and heavy machinery, descended from the sky and landed in key locations around the globe. These ships unleashed legions of stormtroopers, AT-AT walkers, and TIE fighters, bringing the full might of the Imperial war machine to Earth. The first battles were catastrophic for Earth's defenders. In cities like New York, Beijing, Moscow, and London, Imperial forces quickly overwhelmed local military and law enforcement. Earth's conventional weapons, tanks, fighter jets, and even advanced missile systems, were largely ineffective against the Empire's technology. The stormtroopers' armor, while seemingly primitive, was highly resistant to bullets, and their blaster rifles cut through human soldiers with devastating efficiency. In less than a month, the Galactic Empire had established control over major population centers. Resistance was crushed with ruthless precision. The Empire's troops, often backed by Sith overseers and officers wielding technologies that seemed like magic, executed those who resisted and installed puppet governments to manage the occupation. Earth's militaries were forced to retreat to rural and remote areas, regrouping in hopes of finding a way to fight back. The hope that humanity might somehow repel the invaders grew dim as the Empire tightened its grip on the planet. Record 5. The Resistance. Source: compiled oral histories from resistance fighters, combined with records from underground communications networks. Includes personal diaries and encrypted messages. As the world's major cities fell under Imperial control, humanity's leaders were forced into hiding. Governments in exile formed in the mountains of Afghanistan, the Siberian tundra, and the dense forests of the Amazon. Communication between these groups was sporadic, relying on old shortwave radios and other non-digital methods to avoid detection by the Empire's sophisticated tracking systems. Despite the overwhelming odds, resistance began to take shape. Underground networks formed, coordinating small-scale attacks on Imperial supply lines and outposts. These guerrilla tactics were reminiscent of past human conflicts, drawing on the experiences of resistance movements in World War II and other asymmetric wars. One of the most significant acts of resistance came from a group of scientists and engineers who had managed to evade capture. Working in secret laboratories hidden deep underground, they began reverse engineering the remnants of Imperial technology captured in battle. It was in these labs that humanity discovered a small but crucial weakness. The Empire's reliance on sophisticated technology made them vulnerable to electromagnetic pulses, EMPs. Using this knowledge, resistance fighters began deploying EMP devices in ambushes against Imperial patrols. While these devices were not powerful enough to disable the Empire's larger war machines, they could temporarily disrupt the electronics in stormtrooper armor and vehicles, allowing human forces to strike back. The resistance was also bolstered by unexpected allies, rogue factions within the Galactic Empire itself. Disillusioned with the Empire's tyranny, a small number of defectors provided Earth's forces with vital intelligence and advanced technology. However, these rogue elements were few and far between, and trusting them was always a risky gamble. Record 6. The Battle for Earth's Orbit. Source: transcripts from the final communications of the Orbital Defense Fleet, including debriefings from the few survivors who returned to Earth. As the ground war raged, it became clear that humanity could not win unless they could challenge the Empire's dominance in space. The remnants of Earth's space agencies and military branches collaborated to develop a plan. They repurposed old satellites, decommissioned space shuttles, and even civilian spacecraft into makeshift weapons platforms, forming the Orbital Defense Fleet. The Orbital Defense Fleet was a ragtag collection of spacecraft armed with nuclear warheads, kinetic kill vehicles, and newly developed EMP cannons. The fleet's mission was to disable or destroy the massive Star Destroyer that loomed over Earth, serving as the Empire's command center and primary base of operations. The battle for Earth's orbit was a desperate and chaotic gamble. The orbital defense fleet launched in the early hours of December 12, 2039, taking the Empire by surprise. For a brief moment, it seemed that humanity might have a chance. The Empire, initially caught off guard, quickly mobilized its TIE fighter squadrons and smaller capital ships to counter the attack. The ensuing battle was a chaotic melee, with Earth's ships darting between wreckage and debris to avoid the Empire's more advanced fighters. Despite their best efforts, the orbital defense fleet was outmatched. The Empire's ships were faster, more maneuverable, and equipped with energy weapons that cut through Earth's defenses. In a final act of defiance, the flagship of the Orbital Defense Fleet, a heavily modified International Space Station, ISS, rammed the Imperial Star Destroyer, detonating its nuclear payload. The explosion severely damaged the Imperial ship, causing it to lose its stable orbit. While the Star Destroyer was not destroyed, it was crippled, forcing the Empire to halt its operations temporarily. The remains of the Star Destroyer crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, creating a tidal wave that devastated the eastern seaboard of North America. Despite the massive loss of life and the destruction, this marked the first major victory for humanity. Record 7. The Empire's counteroffensive. Source: fragmented records from the United Federation of Earth's Emergency Governance Archives, with input from surviving agricultural and public health organizations. The loss of their Star Destroyer was a significant blow to the Galactic Empire, but they were far from defeated. In retaliation, the Empire unleashed a new wave of terror upon Earth. This time, they targeted agricultural regions and water supplies, aiming to starve the human population into submission. The Imperial war machine was relentless, deploying autonomous probe droids and advanced biological weapons that decimated crops and poisoned water sources. Humanity was pushed to the brink. Famine and disease spread across the globe, and the Resistance was forced to divert resources from the war effort to simply keep people alive. Desperation led to infighting among the various resistance groups, with some factions advocating for surrender while others insisted on fighting to the last breath. Amidst the chaos, the Empire offered a false olive branch. They broadcasted messages across the world, promising peace and prosperity under Imperial rule for those who laid down their arms. Some humans, exhausted and hopeless, took the offer, turning themselves in and betraying their fellow resistance fighters. These collaborators were used by the Empire as mouthpieces to spread propaganda, further weakening the resolve of the resistance. But not all hope was lost. In these darkest hours, a new leader emerged from the resistance, a former United States Air Force general named Sarah Briggs. Known for her tactical brilliance and unyielding spirit, Briggs rallied the fractured resistance and forged them into a unified force. She understood that the key to victory was not just in fighting the Empire, but in inspiring humanity to believe in their ability to resist. Under Briggs' leadership, the Resistance launched a series of coordinated strikes across the globe, targeting the Empire's communication networks and supply lines. These attacks were designed to disrupt the Empire's operations and buy time for the development of new weapons and strategies. Record 8. The discovery of the relics. Source: archaeological findings documented by a secret branch of the Resistance's scientific division. Includes declassified research notes. During one such raid in the deserts of Egypt, Resistance fighters uncovered an ancient underground chamber that had been untouched for millennia. Inside, they found artifacts of a long-forgotten civilization, an advanced race that had once lived on Earth but had mysteriously vanished. Among the artifacts were powerful energy sources and strange devices that defied human understanding. These relics were quickly transported to the Resistance's scientific outpost in the Andes Mountains, where researchers began the painstaking process of deciphering their purpose. What they discovered was beyond anything they could have imagined. The relics were remnants of a precursor race that had once fought and nearly defeated the Sith Empire thousands of years ago. The most significant find was a star map that pointed to a distant system where the precursor race had hidden a weapon capable of destroying even the most advanced Imperial ships. This weapon, known as the Celestial Hammer, was humanity's last hope. However, the map was incomplete, and activating the Celestial Hammer required a key that had been lost to time. The race was on to find the missing pieces before the Empire could crush the Resistance completely. Record 9. The Final Alliance. Source: diplomatic transcripts from the secret summit on the Moon, compiled by the new Intergalactic Relations Office. Also includes first-hand accounts from key participants. As the search for the Celestial Hammer continued, the Resistance realized they could not win this war alone. They needed allies, and the only place they could find them was within the Galactic Empire itself. Through their rogue contacts, the Resistance reached out to other worlds that had suffered under Imperial rule. These worlds, though vastly different in culture and biology, shared a common hatred for the Empire. A secret summit was held on the dark side of the Moon, where representatives from several alien species met with Earth's Resistance leaders. Despite their differences, they agreed to form a coalition against the Empire, pooling their resources and knowledge to strike a decisive blow. This coalition, dubbed the Alliance of Free Worlds, began coordinating attacks on Imperial installations across the galaxy. The Empire, stretched thin by its occupation of Earth and its ongoing conflicts with other rebellious worlds, was forced to divert forces away from Earth, giving humanity a much-needed reprieve. Record 10. The Battle for the Celestial Hammer. Source: battlefield reports from General Sarah Briggs's command center, combined with post-mission analysis from the Alliance of Free Worlds. The Alliance's efforts bought enough time for the Resistance to locate the key to the Celestial Hammer. It was hidden in a remote temple deep in the Amazon rainforest, guarded by ancient automated defenses. A joint force of human and alien operatives was dispatched to retrieve it, facing treacherous terrain, Imperial patrols, and the deadly traps left by the precursors. After a harrowing journey, the team successfully retrieved the key and returned to the Andes outpost. With the star map complete, the location of the Celestial Hammer was revealed, a remote planet on the edge of the galaxy. The Resistance knew that the Empire would stop at nothing to prevent them from reaching the weapon, so they had to act quickly. A fleet of the most advanced ships the Alliance could muster, including Earth's remaining space-worthy vessels, was assembled for the mission. General Sarah Briggs herself led the expedition, knowing that this was humanity's last chance for survival. The journey to the Celestial Hammer was fraught with danger. The Empire had discovered their plan and deployed a massive fleet to intercept them. The final battle took place in the orbit of the Celestial Hammer's planet, a titanic clash of forces that shook the very fabric of space. Despite being outnumbered, the Alliance fought with unmatched determination. The human ships, though outdated and outgunned, proved to be resilient and resourceful. They exploited every weakness in the Imperial fleet, using guerrilla tactics honed on Earth. In the midst of the battle, a small strike team led by Briggs managed to land on the planet's surface and reach the Celestial Hammer's control chamber. There, they activated the ancient weapon, which unleashed a beam of energy so powerful that it tore through the Imperial fleet, destroying ships in an instant. The Imperial forces were decimated, and the few that survived retreated in disarray. The Galactic Empire had suffered a crushing defeat, one from which it would not easily recover. The Celestial Hammer, its energy spent, crumbled into dust, its purpose fulfilled. Record 11. The End of the War. Source: official proclamation from the Galactic Empire's retreat, recorded by surviving Imperial officers and intercepted by the Resistance. Supplemented with UN field reports. The destruction of the Imperial fleet marked the end of the Galactic Empire's occupation of Earth. The remaining Imperial forces on the planet were quickly overrun by the Resistance, their morale shattered by the loss of their fleet. In the days that followed, the Empire officially withdrew from Earth, leaving behind only ruins and the scars of war. For humanity, the victory was bittersweet. The cost of the war had been immense, billions of lives lost, entire cities reduced to rubble, and the planet's ecosystems severely damaged. The survivors faced the daunting task of rebuilding a world that had been brought to the brink of extinction. The Alliance of Free Worlds, forged in the fires of war, vowed to continue the fight against the Galactic Empire across the galaxy. Earth, though ravaged, had earned its place among the stars as a symbol of resistance and resilience. Record 12. The Rebuilding. Source: Reconstruction plans and initiatives from the United Federation of Earth, with contributions from international NGOs and alien allies. In the years following the war, Earth slowly began to rebuild. The scars of the conflict were everywhere: craters where cities once stood, vast swathes of land poisoned by Imperial weapons, and countless orphan children who had known nothing but war. Yet, amidst the ruins, there was hope. The technology and knowledge gained from the Alliance allowed humanity to rebuild faster than anyone had expected. New cities rose from the ashes, designed with both human and alien input, blending cultures and technologies in ways that had never been imagined before. Global governance was restructured, with the United Nations evolving into the United Federation of Earth, a more centralized body that represented all of humanity. The Federation's primary goal was to ensure that Earth would never again be vulnerable to an extraterrestrial threat. Efforts were also made to heal the planet itself. Massive reforestation projects were launched, oceans were cleaned of the pollutants and radiation, and advanced terraforming technologies were employed to restore Earth's damaged ecosystems. Record 13. The Legacy of the War. Source: a post-war study commissioned by the United Federation of Earth, featuring socio-political analyses, personal memoirs, and cultural reflections. The Galactic Empire had underestimated humanity's resolve, and in doing so, had set the stage for its own downfall. The war against the Empire became a rallying cry across the galaxy, inspiring other worlds to rise up against their oppressors. On Earth, the war became a defining moment in human history. It was a tale of survival against insurmountable odds, of unity forged in the crucible of conflict, and of a planet that had refused to bow to tyranny. Monuments were erected in honor of those who had fought and died. The names of the fallen were etched into stone, and their stories were passed down to future generations. The ruins of cities were preserved as reminders of the cost of war, and museums were built to house the relics of the conflict. But perhaps the most significant legacy of the war was the new place Earth held in the galaxy. No longer a backwater planet, Earth had become a beacon of hope for the oppressed, a symbol of resistance against tyranny, and a key player in the new galactic order that was emerging from the ashes of the Empire. Record 14. The Watchers. Source: strategic briefings from the Watchers Coalition, classified intelligence reports, and logs from deep space patrols. Includes contributions from various allied species. Though the war was over, Earth remained vigilant. The Galactic Empire, though weakened, was not completely defeated. It still held sway over vast regions of the galaxy, and its eventual return was not a question of if, but when. To prepare for this, Earth and its allies formed the Watchers, a coalition of advanced warships and space stations that patrolled the farthest reaches of the galaxy, watching for any signs of Imperial resurgence. These Watchers were Earth's first line of defense, a constant reminder that the price of freedom was eternal vigilance. And so, as the years turned into decades and the memories of the war began to fade, humanity remained watchful. The Galactic Empire had been a formidable foe, but in the end, it was the indomitable spirit of Earth that had triumphed. The story of the war between Earth and the Galactic Empire became legend, a tale told across the stars, a story of a small, blue planet that had stood against the might of an empire and emerged victorious. It was a story that would never be forgotten. End of surviving records.